Now this verse tells us that Satan deceives the whole world. Now when we talk about the whole world, we have to understand we're talking about our educational systems, public schools, whatever, religious institutions, okay, the media, our entertainment. All of this is under the grip of deception. Politics, advertising agencies, the medical institutions, all of it is under the grip of deception. Now let me illustrate something here that sort of will help bring it home. Consider the death of George Washington. Back in Washington's day, he was an avid believer in bloodletting. Now it sort of sounds barbaric, but let me explain it. They would actually drain off so much blood. And so Washington had gotten an upper respiratory infection. And so a person comes out, and now this all occurred within a 13-hour period, this bloodletting. But one man came out and drained 12 to 14 ounces of his blood. Later, a doctor came by. 20 ounces was drained off. Again, the same doctor, another 20 ounces. Again, the same doctor came back again. 40 ounces of blood was drained off from Washington's body. Later, another doctor came by. 32 ounces of bloodletting. Now, of course, he eventually died from all of this, draining one's blood off. It was later, a doctor back in 1902, an article was published. This doctor said this, back in the year 1902, shortly after Washington's death. He said, "I think it is my duty to point out what appears to be a most fatal error in their plan." That's talking about the doctors and the people that practiced bloodletting back then. "Old people cannot bear bleeding as well as the young. We see that they drew from a man in the 69th year of his age the enormous quantity of 82 ounces, or above 2 quarts and a half of blood in about 13 hours. Very few of the most robust young men in the world could survive such a loss of blood. But the body of an aged person must be so exhausted and his power so weakened by it as to make his death speedily and inevitable." Now, as we look at this practice back then, we say, well, that's barbaric. I mean, it's like changing the oil in your car. Well, no, it's not like it's like draining the oil in your car and you continue to drive the vehicle. And yet, Washington believed in bloodletting. He had actually practiced this on some of his slaves. But consider this, besides Washington's bed was a Bible. And in that Bible, it says this, Leviticus 17 and verse 11, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof." Notice this. I mean, but as Washington passed away, bloodletting, draining off his blood, here was the Bible beside his bed. And I admit it would have taken faith to believe that, but it is true. The life is in the blood, and you don't drain it off. My point is this. We live in a world filled with deception. That's a great example of deception back then in the medical institution. So if we are deceived, it's not completely our fault. But consider this, the Word of God cuts through the deception. All Washington would have had to have done is to pick up his Bible and say, yes, the life is in the blood. This is insanity draining off my blood. And he could have lived. It could have saved his life.